Hello, and welcome to Trans Truth, the podcast dedicated to dispelling myths, fear, and ignorance about transgender people. Along the way, we'll be sharing items of interest to the transgender community, from political and news events to health, fashion, and beauty. And now, let's have a look at some news items that should be of interest to our listeners. Pink News reports that UK Labour MP Angela Eagle has publicly shamed anti-trans activists for wanting to police public toilets over the mere existence of trans people. Well, I should hope to shout.
Oh my God!
I believe there was even mention of using passports in order to gain access to the loo. So stop me if you've heard this one. Her speech followed criticisms of Equalities Minister Kemi Badenoch in the wake of suggested changes to the 2010 Equality Act, which would define sex as biological sex, thus removing a number of protections for trans and non-binary people. Told you you'd heard this one before. Eagle accused the Conservative MP of forcing trans people to use the wrong toilets and putting gender non-conforming people in danger. Equalities and Human Rights Commission Chairwoman Baroness Kishore-Faulkner said in her response that while there was no straightforward balance, the watchdog believed that defining sex as strictly biological would bring greater legal clarity in areas of the law. With respect, Baroness, the thing needing clarity is how a person in your position could be so out of touch with the current understanding of gender identity. And welcome back to Trans Truth. I'm your host, Kelly Nelson, she, her, hers, and I am joined, as almost always, by...
I'm Jeri Ann, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
So, Jeri Ann and I were starting to feel like we'd been, well, I'll say it, pretty bitchy lately about all the hateful propaganda and legislation. Not that the right-wing nuts don't deserve it, and we did warn you that we are perpetually fully stocked with opinion. But we're going to try to take a short break from changing the world.
So, since Kelly is a movie buff, and I am sort of a wannabe movie buff, we thought we would talk about transgender in entertainment media. You know, movies, television, and music.
And tonight, we're going to cover the movies. So, I set out to research this segment. You know, I knew there were a fair number of transgender, titles, movie titles with transgender subject matter. And when I went to IMDb, I discovered two things. One, I've not only not seen, I've not even heard of most of the titles that come up on imdb.com for a search on the word transgender. And two, there are tons of movies on the topic. Who knew? No wonder the vanilla people are in such a panic.
We also pulled some titles from, brace yourself, the Good Housekeeping 15 Best Transgender Movies to Watch Right Now. Is anyone else at least a little surprised that Good Housekeeping produced this list?
This is me raising my hand. Good Housekeeping. Good grief. So we thought we'd talk about just our favorites and least favorites, or those which, in our opinion, are absolute must-see titles. Oh, shut up. You knew you were in for a double helping of opinion today, bitches. And besides, my co-host is a bona fide movie star. She's even walked the red carpet at Grauman's TCL Chinese Theater at the premiere of Our Dad, Danielle, a documentary about our friend DJ Healy and featuring Jeri Ann and Sasha Simon. Oh, and yours truly, I think, in 2 shots. No lines, but I did make the credits.
Kelly, in all our discussions about transgender films, it never occurred to me that that documentary was a transgender film.
Duh.
I think that's a good sign.
Fair warning, we're using the term transgender pretty loosely here. If it has a drag queen or crossdresser or a trans woman or trans man in it, it's fair game. Fair warning, number 2. This is not a top 10 list. We're just throwing these titles out there, the good and the bad, into the cauldron and letting it bubble.
So, first up, Transgender Nation. Let's get this one out of the way early. I give this one 1 star, and that's being generous. This came up as the first, not necessarily number 1, but the first result in that IMDb search. Anyway, it's just little more than someone with an English accent paraphrasing the Wikipedia entries on various terms related to transgender people, and all of that played over 70 minutes of stock footage, bad animation, and atrocious attempts at artful cinematography.
You know what, Kelly? This one sounds like a last minute, night before attempt to complete a class project.
Yeah, it did feel like rushed homework. It was that bad. Anyway, it might be of some use if the viewer is completely unfamiliar with transgender terminology, but in that case, I'd just recommend going straight to Wikipedia. Anyway, it's available streaming on Tubi. And the next one is Disclosure, Trans Lives on Screen. And this one was number 1 on that Good Housekeeping list. And it's not to be confused with the 1994 film Disclosure, featuring Michael Douglas and Demi Moore. Disclosure, Trans Lives on Screen, is a documentary that features multiple experts and media figures sharing their thoughts on Hollywood's handling of transgender topics and people. Look, I'm a film junkie from the word go, and I especially love a well-done documentary, and this is one of the best. Well worth the time for anyone looking for those juicy bits of history and insider information that may have escaped the superficial notice of the popular press, and certainly from shows like TMZ or Entertainment Tonight. It's available for streaming or rental or purchase on multiple services.
And that brings us to one entitled The Trans List. It's number 5 on the Good Housekeeping list, and it's a series of interviews with some trans celebrities and public figures. Interesting in its own right, but more than a little superficial if one is looking for insight into the trans experience for the rest of us. It's streaming on Hulu and Max.
Yeah, I remember seeing this one, I don't know, a couple of years ago. And when I saw one of the, 4 or 5 people that was going to be interviewed was Caitlyn Jenner, I figured I was in for that, something more akin to that TMZ reportage. I was right. All right, next up is a classic, The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. It's an Australian film produced in 1994, and it was one of the first feature-length motion pictures to portray gender-variant characters, 2 drag queens and a trans woman, in a positive light. This one is a classic. I don't want to spoil anything for you. It's a road trip movie. It really is, with some very interesting characters. Anyway, it's a classic that should be seen at least once by anyone at all interested in trans film. And it's available on Fubo TV and for rent on Apple TV.
Next up is The Birdcage. It's based on the 1983 Broadway hit La Cage aux Folles. and the 1978 film of the same name. This Americanized version tells the story of a middle-aged gay couple, Albert and Armand Goldman, played by Nathan Lane and Robin Williams, who live with their houseboy, Hank Azaria, I think it was his name.
Yeah.
Anyway, they live above a South Beach drag club in which Lane's character is the star performer. This telling of the story introduces new drama as the Goldman's son, Val, played by Dan Futterman, announces his engagement to Barbara Keeley, played by Callista Flockhart, the daughter of arch-conservative Senator Kevin Keeley, played by Gene Hackman, and his wife Louise, played by Diane West. No spoilers. Go ahead, Kelly.
I gotta say, I mean, this cast is just killer from top to bottom.
Oh, it's loaded. This one is loaded.
Yeah, I so love Diane Weiss. She has got such a sense of comic timing.
Well, no spoilers, but suffice to say that this cast is wholly up to the task of delivering the fabulous comedic screenplay. Williams is especially noteworthy for his understated performance as the most rational and even-keeled character of the whole bunch. If you have not yet seen this, treat yourself. Available on multiple streaming services, including Tubi and Amazon Prime.
The Danish Girl, very popular movie, a couple, 3 years ago, number 6 on the Good Housekeeping list. This one is a dramatization that's loosely based on the story of Danish painter Lille Elbe, born Einar Wegener in 1882. Now, Elbe was one of the first recipients of gender-affirming surgery and was a patient of Dr. Magnus Hirschfeld, who operated the Institute for Sexual Research in Germany in the 1930s. Incidentally, the destruction of that institute by Nazis in 1933 was mentioned in our episode 7, Propaganda, Then and Now. Anyway, again, no spoilers, but a hearty recommendation, if for no other reason than Eddie Redmayne's performance as Elbe. Available to rent on multiple services, including Apple, Amazon Prime, and Redbox.
And that brings us to Flawless. Not to be confused with the 2007 film of the same name, this 1999 production stars Robert De Niro and Philip Seymour Hoffman. The story is a thriller, crime drama, and a good one. But the real treat is the interplay between A-list actors Hoffman and De Niro, playing respectively Rusty, a drag queen, and her curmudgeonly and bigoted neighbor, Walt. Both actors become their characters, making this not always happy story a joy to watch nonetheless. Streaming or for rent on multiple services.
Oh, I've been waiting to get to this one. It's actually, we're going to talk about 2 movies. Glenn or Glenda and Ed Wood, the movie Ed Wood. We're lumping these 2 together in order to hopefully spare you the regret one feels after watching almost any of Ed Wood's amateurish productions. You have been warned. Now, I say almost because Ed Wood's Plan 9 from Outer Space is perennially nominated as one of the worst films of all time. It's so bad, it's good. Really. But I digress. The film Ed Wood is the 1994 production featuring Johnny Depp as Wood and Martin Landau as Bela Lugosi, a performance that earned Landau an Oscar, and Sarah Jessica Parker as Wood's long-suffering girlfriend. The story follows Wood, a self-confessed transvestite, through the making of Glenn or Glenda and his triumph, Plan 9 from Outer Space. Alternately touching and funny, the film's real standout, though, is Landau. Watch for his, Lugosi's reaction when Wood reveals his cross-dressing to him. It's available for streaming or rent or purchase on multiple services. I on this next one, I almost didn't put it in here, but it's a classic, and I am such a big fan of the lead actors. And the title is Boys Don't Cry. And oh my God, this is one of those movies that is at times almost too hard to watch. If you didn't know, it's a dramatization of the life and ultimately the violent death of Brandon Teena, played by then unknown Hilary Swank, the Nebraska female to male trans teen who was raped and then beaten to death by two acquaintances in 1993. Swank has since delivered many spectacular performances, but this is the one that cemented her status as a master of the acting craft. Do not miss this one. Oh, and as another pointless aside, while I was attending university, a young Hilary Swank and I apparently lived in the same town of Bellingham, Washington. Anyway, Boys Don't Cry, available for rent or on multiple streaming services.
Which brings us to the Rocky Horror Picture Show. You knew it had to make this list. You've almost certainly seen it, probably multiple times. It's not my cup of tea, but leaving it off the list would probably have caused riots in the Montrose area of Houston and maybe even in neighboring Sugar Land.
Do we need to even talk about the Rocky Horror Picture Show?
No.
Yeah, everybody out there has seen it bunches of times.
Know and is curious, they just need to watch it.
Yep, absolutely. If you haven't, you definitely need to watch it. Okay, going back in time a little bit, told you I was a film buff. We're talking about Dressed to Kill. It's a thriller starring Michael Caine and Angie Dickinson. And I'm sorry, but to comment on this one at all would be a big old spoiler. So just trust me. You want to see this one. It's streaming on Tubi, Pluto TV, and Freevee.
But no discussion about transgender films would be complete without Trans America.
Oh, yeah.
This one is a 2005 dramedy. It tells the story of Bree, played by Felicity Huffman, a trans woman who, just as she's about to have gender confirmation surgery, gets a call from a young man claiming to be her son. Bree wants desperately to break with her past, and this is a complication she would prefer to leave in her wake. Her therapist, however, will not give final approval for the surgery until she deals with this complication. This is a touching and beautifully told story. Highly recommended.
It is. I love this movie. It's another one of those. It's kind of hard to watch. It's
painful.
It's painful. I was going to say dark, but yeah, I think painful is a better word.
It's heartbreaking, gut wrenching at times. Hard to describe, but yeah, painful.
Yeah, it probably because it's so damn real. All right, next up. Okay, and I'm going full on film geek here. Anything directed by John Waters and starring Divine. You know who Divine is, Jeri Ann? Or was?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Big old drag queen from the 70s and 80s, and one of John Waters' favorite actresses. Anyway, among those titles that the two did together, Hairspray, yes, the original, Polyester, which was, full on geek here, remember, was originally released in Odorama, where each moviegoer received a numbered scratch and sniff card to be employed on cue in various scenes. And no, I am not kidding.
Oh my gosh.
Read up on John Waters if you doubt me. Also, Female Trouble, just to name, three of those John Waters titles. Look, John Waters' high camp style may not be for everyone, but like other classic B-movie directors like Roger Corman and the aforementioned Ed Wood, the viewing list of any serious film buff should have at least one of these titles on it.
Okay. The next one I remember, and I'm going to describe my experience with this movie. The title is I Want What I Want to Be a Woman. Now, this movie just appeared out of nowhere, and it was actually shown in extreme Southeast Texas, where they don't allow things like this. I don't think anyone knew what the content was of this movie before it aired, but from the subtitle, I kind of knew. And it was, I was a young adult, and my gosh, what cultural and social contortions I went to trying to get to a place where I could go see this film.
When did this movie come out? It was a while ago, wasn't it?
1972.
Holy cow.
1972 in Southeast Texas.
Yeah.
Like I said, it appeared out of nowhere, like the phoenix, rising. So, anyway, I knew I had to see this film. I didn't know what it was about, but basically, I ended up watching it over the years 2 or 3 times. But it's about a young trans woman, and who the story takes place in England, and this person seizes rare opportunities to express herself authentically, and on one occasion is presenting female and falls asleep on the sofa, and her father comes home and beats her up and that kind of stuff. And I don't want to spoil this film. It might still be available somewhere, but it's frightening. It's heartbreaking, gut-wrenching, but has a happy ending.
Cool.
And another film that we didn't really talk about before that should have been on this list because it had some great stars was Welcome Back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean. It starred Sandy Dennis and I think Karen Black as the trans woman.
Boy, I've seen that movie, and I vaguely remember there being a trans character, but
the trans character was central to the whole story. This gorgeous trans woman comes into the Five and Dime where I think there's a lunch counter.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, we could go all night, dredging this stuff up. Like I said, tons of titles on this topic. Most of them probably not worth mentioning, but there's doubtless a dozen or more that we could have talked about, but we just can't because of time. So if you've got suggestions, please use the feedback on our website or on the Spotify comment section, and let us know if there's something you think we should talk about. We'll do this again. You have been listening to Trans Truth, the podcast that speaks the truth about what it means to be transgender. If you are transgender yourself, you have a friend or loved one who is transgender, or if you are simply looking to understand more about the transgender experience, we hope that you have found this episode to be informative and enlightening. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to contact us at info@transtruth.info. Copyright 2023 Trans Truth.